تكبيرة الإحرام. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. سبحان الله
ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. بحول الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك
لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم.
ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. سبحان
سبحان
الله.
ربي العظيم وبحمده.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله.
الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته
بحول الله.
بسم الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. سبحان الله.
ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله.
الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم.
دعاء: اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم أغن كل فقير. اللهم أشبع كل جائع. اللهم اكس كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. وصل اللهم على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحانك يا الله تعاليت يا رحمن. أجرنا من النار يا مجيب. سبحانك يا رحيم تعاليت يا كريم. أجرنا من النار يا مجيب. سبحانك يا ملك تعاليت يا مالك. أجرنا من النار يا مجيب. سبحانك يا قدوس تعاليت يا سلام. أجرنا من النار يا مجيب. سبحانك يا مؤمن تعاليت يا مهيمن. أجرنا من النار يا مجيب. سبحانك يا عزيز تعاليت يا جبار. أجرنا من النار يا مجيب. سبحانك يا متكبر تعاليت يا متجبر. أجرنا من النار يا مجيب. سبحانك يا خالق تعاليت يا بارئ. أجرنا من النار يا مجيب. سبحانك سبحانك يا مسلم تعاليت يا مقدر أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا هادي تعاليت يا باقي أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا وهاب تعاليت يا تواب أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا فتاح تعاليت يا مرتاح أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا سيدي تعاليت يا مولاي أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا غريب تعاليت يا رقيب أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا مبدع تعاليت يا معين أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا حميد تعاليت يا مجيد أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا قدير تعاليت يا غفير أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا غفور تعاليت يا شكور أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا شارع تعاليت يا شهيد أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا حنان تعاليت يا منان أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا باقر تعاليت يا وارث أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا مهين تعاليت يا مميت أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا شفيع تعاليت يا رفيق أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا أنيس تعاليت يا مونس أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا جليل تعاليت يا جميل أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا خبير تعاليت يا بصير أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا حفيظ تعاليت يا مليك أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا معبود تعاليت يا موجود أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا غفار تعاليت يا غفار أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا مذكور تعاليت يا مشكور أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا جواد تعاليت يا مغاث أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا جمال تعاليت يا جلال أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا صابر تعاليت يا رازق أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا صادق تعاليت يا خالق أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا سميع تعاليت يا سريع أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا رفيع تعاليت يا بديع أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا فهاد تعاليت يا متعال أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا غافر تعاليت يا رافع أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا قاهر تعاليت يا طاهر أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا غالب تعاليت يا واكب أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا دائم تعاليت يا ضامن أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا قاسم تعاليت يا قاسم أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا غني تعاليت يا مغني أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا بخيل تعاليت يا قوي أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا كافي تعاليت يا شافي أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا مقدم تعاليت يا مؤخر أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا أول تعاليت يا آخر أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا ظاهر تعاليت يا باطن أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا رجاء تعاليت يا مرتجى أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا ذا المن تعاليت يا ذا الطول أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا هي تعاليت يا قيوم أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا واحد تعاليت يا خالق أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا سيد تعاليت يا سمد أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا قدير تعاليت يا كبير أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا غالي تعاليت يا متعالي أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا غني تعاليت يا أعلام أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا غني تعاليت يا مولا أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا ظالم تعاليت يا بارئ أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا خافض تعاليت يا رافع أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا مبصر تعاليت يا جامع أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا معز تعاليت يا مذل أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا حافظ تعاليت يا حفيظ أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا قادر تعاليت يا مقتدر أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا غني تعاليت يا خليل أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا حكيم تعاليت يا حكيم أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا معطي تعاليت يا مانع أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا غفور تعاليت يا غافر أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا مجيب تعاليت يا حسيب أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا قادر تعاليت يا فاضل أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا لطيف تعاليت يا شريف أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا رب تعاليت يا رب أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا ماجد تعاليت يا ماجد أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا غفور تعاليت يا منتقم أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا واصل تعاليت يا مبصر أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا رؤوف تعاليت يا غتوف أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا فر تعاليت يا غيث أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا مغيث تعاليت يا مغيث أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا وكيل تعاليت يا غد أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا مبين تعاليت يا متين أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا من تعاليت يا بدود أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا رشيد تعاليت يا مرشد أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا نور تعاليت يا منور أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا نسير تعاليت يا ناصر أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا صبور تعاليت يا صابر أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا محسن تعاليت يا مرشد أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا صبر تعاليت يا ديان أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا مغيث تعاليت يا غياث أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا فاطر تعاليت يا حاضر أجرنا من النار يا مجيب سبحانك يا ذا العز والجمال تباركت يا ذا الجبروت والجلال سبحانك لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين فاستجبنا له ونجيناه من الغم وكذلك ننجي المؤمنين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين وحسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي، وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي، وأغل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها، وهموم قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أغلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الذل، وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها، على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه، ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه، ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده، الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يده، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما. إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير، مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفك عن ذنبي، وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي، وصفحك عن ظلمي، وسترك على قبيح عملي، وحلمك عن كثير جرمي، عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك، وأريتني من قدرتك، وعرفتني من إجابتك، فصرت أدعوك آمنا، وأسألك مستأنسا، لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك. فإن أبت عني عتبت بجهلي عليك، ولعل الذي أبطى عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد اللئيم منك علي يا رب. إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك، وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك، وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك، كأن لي التطول عليك. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجود عليهم بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه، وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله، ولا شبيه يشاكله، ولا ظهير يعاضده. قهر بعزته العزة وتواضع لعظمته العظمى، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر على كل عورة وأنا أعصيه، ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطى، وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفى، وبهجة مونقة قد أرى، فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه، ولا يغلق بابه، ولا يرد سائله، ولا يخيب آمله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين، ويرفع المستضعفين، ويضع المستكبرين، ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاصم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراته. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق، ويرزق ولا يرزق، ويطعم ولا يطعم، ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى، وهو حي لا يموت، بيده الخير، وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك، أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين، عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. وصل على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي، حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر، وحفه بملائكتك المغربين، وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك، استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله، مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له، أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا، يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به، وانصره وانتصر به، وانصره نصرا عزيزا، وافتح له فتحا يسيرا، واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا، وما غصرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شعثنا، واشعب به صدعنا، وارتق به فتقنا، وكثر به قلتنا، وأعزز به ذلتنا، وأغن به عائلنا، واغض به عن مغرمنا، واجبر به فقرنا، وسد به خلتنا، ويسر به عسرنا، وبيض به وجوهنا، وفك به أسرنا، وأنجح به طلبتنا، وأنجز به مواعيدنا، واستجب به دعوتنا، وأعطنا به سؤلنا، وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا، وأعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا، واذهب به غيظ قلوبنا، واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك، إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق. آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله، وغيبة ولينا، وكثرة عدونا، وقلة عددنا، وشدة الفتن بنا، وتظاهر الزمان علينا. فصل على محمد وآله، وعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجل، وبضر تكشف، ونصر تعز، وسلطان حق تظهر، ورحمة منك تجللنا، وعافية منك تلبسنا، برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. It is Shahr Ramadan. It is the month that we are guests, is the banquet of Allah. And in such a holy month, we remember one of God's best creations, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and try to benefit from his speech, inshallah, from his letter 31 in Nahjul Balagha. So far, we talked about a few concepts. We talked about taqwa. We talked about solidifying or building the heart with the remembrance of God. And now we're going to talk about this line in Nahjul Balagha, وَالْاِعْتِصَامِ بِحَبْلِهِ, and cling to hope from Him. وَأَيُّ سَبَبْ أَوْثَقْ مِنْ سَبَبْ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ جَلَّ جَلَالُهُ إِنْ أَخَذْتَ بِهِ. No connection is more reliable than the connection between you and God, provided you take hold of it. Brothers and sisters, we live in a very difficult time. We live in a time of trial, a time that it is very hard for us to keep our spirituality, our religious faith, and even if we do, it's sometimes harder to excel the way that maybe a few generations ago it was easier. So we live in a difficult time. And in difficult times, a person realizes that they need a stronger rope. They need a stronger sense of security for themselves. And when you read Nahjul Balagha, imagine I'm not speaking. Imagine that is Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, Ali alayhi salam is speaking. And he's advising us to hold on to the rope of God. Meaning that this, if we really analyze and open our minds, we realize that this world is a place that, because of the dual inclinations that we have, the inclinations towards God, the inclinations that we have towards evil, towards the lower desires, through temptations, through lust, through anger, and different ourselves. And the best way, Imam Ali alayhi salam is saying, to cling on to the rope of God. A person can cling on to the rope of God that understands the dangers, understands man, and understands the reality of man's inclinations, and realizes how dangerous man can be if he does not be able to to control his nafs, his lower desires. We talked about Imam Ali alayhi salam giving, related to him in Nahjul Balagha, talking about a person that is conquering his nafs and desires, a person that has taqwa, as a person that is riding a horse that is trained and precisely goes wherever he wants, compared to a person that is just riding on top of a horse, and that horse is taking him to whatever dangers exists and can throw him off a cliff. If we do not individuals, we will be dangerous individuals. And some people have seen the reality. Sometimes they see people as bears. They see the reality of their nafs. They see others as animals, these animalistic traits that we have. Because of these inclinations, therefore, and we see this world and all the temptations that exist, especially in modern times, that a lot of these temptations exist, are brought to us right by our devices, right in our homes, right next to us, or by all the products that we have and all those sources of advertising and consumerism, and trying to attack us, trying to get us to purchase those products, trying to get our attention. And therefore we become a subject of this vast camp, tempted to sin or products that are haram, that we might not have a very not strong enough free will to stay away from these temptations. So the only person that is strong enough is a person that sees these dangers and clings on to the rope even more. What is the rope of God? So we talked about bihablihi. Some of the traditions talk about this rope as in the tradition when a group of people from Yemen came to the Prophet of Islam asking who is the successor of the Holy Prophet. And he mentioned to them, a few things, and one of them was this verse. He said, the Hablallah, that this is from the Quran, basically, that hold on to the rope of God. So in Hadith, and it is in Tafsir, it is known that the Hablallah is the Ahlul Bayt, where he says specifically is Ali ibn Abi Talib for us. So today we're going to talk about the best way to hold on to the rope of God, because this is attributed to God. This isn't the reason why we follow Ali ibn Abi Talib, is because he is a divine guide that God has brought for us. Therefore, when you hold on to Ali, it's as if you're holding on to the rope of God. I'm going to give a few narrations about how important it is to hold on to Ali ibn Abi Talib. And especially, as we said, the month of Ramadan is the month that we are remembering Ali. First of all, a believer, if he wants to be conquering his nafs, if he wants to be in control of himself, if he wants to manage the pains of life, if he wants to be able to, because this life can be very painful. This life is a life of bala. If he wants to manage his pains, he has to first of all know that he's connected to Ali alayhi salam. He is connected to Ali, that we are part of a tree. We have a family tree. We have what is called a tree of walayat. Look in this hadith in Basa'ir al-Darajat, beautiful book and translated in English. Saltu Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, I asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Abu Abdullah, about the verse, Asluha thabitun wa qar'uha fi sama. This tree is a goodly tree. Its root is set firm, its branches reaches the sky. What is this tree in the Quran? 1424, you can research. What is 1424? This tree that its root is set firm and its branches reaching the sky. What did Imam Sadiq say? What is this tree? So he's telling the reality of the Quran, because the Imams have knowledge of the book. He says to him, Rasulullah, Jadruha, the root of this tree in the Quran that is firm, its root is the Prophet of Allah, the Messenger of God. Wa Amir al-Mu'mineen far'uha, and Ali alayhi salam is its branches. So imagine the root, the trunk is the Prophet, the branches are Ali. Wal a'immatu min dhurriyyataha aghsanuha. The Imams are the progeny, from their progeny are the twigs. Wa ilmu al-a'imma thamaruha. And the knowledge of the Imams are its fruits. So you have a tree, the base, the foundations of that tree is the Prophet, and then Imam Ali, and then the Imams, and then the knowledge of the Imams. وَشِيعَتُهُمْ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَرَغُهَا. And the Shi'as and the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, are part of this tree. We are part of that same tree as the Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam. And we are the leaves of the tree. The Shias are the leaves. هل ترى فيها فضلا يا أبا جعفر؟ قال قلت لا والله. فقال والله إن المؤمن يولد فيورق ورقا. When a believer is born, a new leaf comes. وإن المؤمن ليموت فتسقط ورقته. And when a believer dies, a leaf falls. So what does this mean for us? How does this change us? That you are connected, you're one body. And if you want to be able to hold on to the rope of God, which in hadith is Ali ibn Abi Talib, then you must understand that we are one with him. We are one body. Brothers and sisters, we're going to face difficulties in our lives. Many of us have suffered in this world. Many of us right now in the world are suffering. Look at what's going on right now. COVID is wreaking havoc, especially in India right now or other places. Or, for example, what just happened in Iraq, the explosion that happened in Iraq, and people are suffering, in the hospital. Many people die. If you do not cling on to Ali ibn Abi Talib, we will have difficulties in our lives. If a person clings on to him, he will know how to manage his pains. He will be able to understand that when something happens to him, as if it's happening to the entire tree. So we are one with the prophets, ones with the imams, one with Ali alayhi salam. We're not alone. The worst feeling that someone can have, I don't know if something very bad has happened to you, is to feel that you are alone. To have misery come, bala come, and to feel you're alone. Nobody can help you. But imagine this, you have this hadith in Basa'ir al-Darajat. You're one tree with the imams. You are part of them. Therefore, they will protect you. They will watch over you. Our imam of the age, if he did not protect us, we would be destroyed. We would be destroyed. We have a guardian, and our guardian is Imam Mahdi Ajallah Ta'ala Faraj. So before tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about Imam Hassan alayhi salam. So one of the last nights that we're talking about this khutbah, we might talk about it tomorrow night, inshallah. I want to give you the youth, and this is the lecture, this is the letter from Imam Ali, letter 31 for the youth. I want to give you this advice to cling on for the rest of your life. Remember that you are one tree. You're going to have issues in your life. Inshallah not. Inshallah, life will be heaven for you, but that is not the nature of this world. This world is Darul Bala. Remember that we are one body with the Ahlul Bayt, and they will watch over us. And when we have pains, they will understand that pain. I want to make it even more significant. So when you look at these hadith and you look at this view that we have, you understand that one of the most important core concepts in a Muslim lifestyle, a Shia lifestyle, is walayat of the Ahlul Bayt. This is one of the core fundamentals of the way that we live. We live with Ali. We die with Ali alayhi salam. The first person we will meet, tradition has, فَمَنْ يَمُوتْ يَرَنِي, the first person we will see, whoever dies will see Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imagine, right when we need that suffering is happening the most, and بَلَغَتْ hulqum, our spirits reach our throats, and the pains and sakaratul maut happens. You don't know what to do, you're frantic, you're panicking, you're in pain. Then you see your master, Mawla Ali. You see your master, Mawla, and he comes to you because he is part of that tree. You are part of that tree. He is the root of the tree. He is the trunk of the tree. He is the branches of the tree. And the Prophet is the root. We have in tradition, or we have in poetry actually, we have in poetry that Harith Hamdani mentioning, if Man Yamut Yarani, this hadith, whoever dies, Imam Ali alayhi salam, the tradition mentioning that whoever dies, Ali alayhi salam, he will see Ali. And then the poet saying, I wish I were to die 1,000 times a day so that I could see Ali 1,000 times. That is true walayat, that is true love. So you are going to be much stronger, alayhi salam, with Ali. And this is, if you want me to give you one advice for the Shahr Ramadan, that would be love Ali, follow Ali, think of Ali. Look at Rumayla. I'm going to give you this, another hadith in Basa'ir al-Darajat. Go ahead, read this book from Safar, around who is known to be a companion of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam. There's about 1,800 hadith in this book, and it is a really wilai book. Rumayla was sick. Rumayla was a person, he was sick. And there, he wants to know what to do. He wants to he thinks that maybe the best thing to do is to visit Imam Ali alayhi salam in salat time. And maybe this will make him feel better. So he goes, and Imam Ali alayhi salam, in this tradition, is narrated that he knows that Rumayla is sick. He knows. And Rumayla is surprised that how does Ali ibn Abi Talib know that he's sick? Then Imam Ali says this, and I'm telling you this hadith for us, that whenever you feel down, whenever bala happens to you, whenever you have pain and you want to know how to manage that pain, what kind of encouragement is it that you know that Imam Ali is also in the same pain that you have? He is feeling your pain. He knows of your pain, and he is also, if you are sick, he is sick. If you're grieved, he is grieved. Look at this beautiful hadith. So he tells Rumayla in the hadith, فَقَالَ يَا رُمَيْلَ لَيْسَ مِن مُؤْمِنٍ يَمْرَضُ إِلَّا مَرِضْنَا بِمَرَضِهِ. O Rumayla, there isn't a believer, a true believer, a mu'min that is sick unless we are sick with his sickness. Allahu Akbar. We Ahl al-Bayt become sick with his sickness. Why? Because we are one tree. When one part hurts, is in pain, the other part is in pain. وَلَا يَحْزُنُ إِلَّا حَزِنَا بِحُزْنٍ. And there isn't a believer that isn't grieving. He's grieving, he's in pain, that the Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam are in pain. We cry for the pains of the Ahl al-Bayt. Ali ibn Abi Talib, we cry for you, Imam Ali. The 19th of Ramadan, when they come and strike you with the sword, we will be crying, we will be suffering. It will be as if the worst day of our lives, because we lose our father. And when we are in pain, you will cry for us too, Ali alayhi salam. وَلَا يَدْعُو إِلَّا آمَنَّا لِدُعَائِهِ. And how do the Shias, their du'as, are they answered? And does not pray unless we do Ameen for his prayer. That Ameen is from Imam Ali. We pray, we raise our hands and we do dua, and Imam Ali is giving the Ameen. So a follower of Ahl al-Bayt has to understand that this is the foundation that they should live their lives. This is their lifestyle, being Ahl al-Bayti, being connected to Ahl al-Bayt, loving them, visiting them, remembering their Imam of the age, and being at service of them. And this is the way that we'll reach true spirituality. Shaykh Mutahari talks about, Ustad Mutahari talks about few ways to approach spirituality. One is manually. For example, you have a bundle of steel and you want to move this steel. Manually, you can take each beam by itself. How hard is that? Or you can get a magnet and take the entire bundle in one move. Those that approach religion with the love of Ahl al-Bayt, they approach it in the second manner, like a magnet. You want to move that bundle, you move it with a magnet, the entire thing. Why? Because when you love the Ahl al-Bayt, you start to become like them. You learn about how Imam Ali did salat. You begin to do salat like Imam Ali. You learn how Imam Ali alayhi salam would cry and do dua and supplicate. You start to supplicate like him. You see how Imam Ali thought about the poor and had such a compassionate heart, was infinitely merciful, was infinitely kind. I'm going to mention maybe tonight, inshallah, that how kind is Ali when he is worried about that person that hit him and struck him on the head, and that is an asir, that is a captive. He is worried about his captive. And when they bring him food items, he tells them to take it to the captive. He's worried about him. This is the compassion of Imam Ali. So therefore we see, brothers and sisters, there's nothing that's going to change us as much as understanding that we are connected in one tree, understanding the Ahl al-Bayt, feel our pains. We feel their pains to some extent. When we feel their pains and when we love them, we start to become like them. Who are the best companions of Imam Zaman? The best companions of Imam Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraj are those that are most similar to him. They become like him. That will be the best companion. So therefore we understand in this line that if we want to hold on to the rope of God, وَلَاعْتِصَامَ بِحَبْلِهِ وَأَيُّ سَبَبٍ أَوْثَقٍ, the best way to hold on to the rope of God is to hold on to the love of Ali alayhi salam, the connection, the walayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and living your life in a way that you express your love. You're always listening, you're crying for the Ahlul Bayt, you're listening to their eulogies, you're listening to matam for them, Ahlul Bayt. You know, my personal experience has been this: those that have been Ahlul Bayti, they have been successful. Their religion has been successful, from my limited experience. Those that truly love the Imams would not let them go. There are those that are religious, you know, but they don't really like too much. Not they like Ahlul Bayt, but they're not really Ahlul Bayti. They're not Wala'i. They're not those that will spend their entire income just to go and visit them, their shrines, and kiss their shrines. Or those that will listen to the recitations, you know, beautiful recitations for Ahlul Bayt. They don't cry for them as much. You know, sometimes they come to the speech. Then when it comes to the matam, sinners, they leave. Our teacher, Sheikh Ahmad al-Mushtahidi, he would tell us, you have to become Husayni, you have to become Ahlul Bayti. And that days of the martyrdoms of the Imams, he would say that this is 10 lessons. Class would be canceled, but he said, this class now has changed. And this is equal to 10 lessons. And this is my humble advice to you, brothers, and sisters. If you want to be able to manage our pains, and that is a person that is truly happy and knows what to do with their calamities, to be Ahlul Bayt. Let's look at more hadith. Actually, let me give you a story. Allama Tabatabai, we've heard of him, a great mufassir of the Quran. And he spent, you know, in Shahr Ramadan, I believe, he compiled Al-Mizan. One of the characteristics that Allama had was he was extremely Ahlul Bayt. He would fast, and he would break his fast, he said, with kissing the shrine of Lady Fatima Ma'suma in Qom. He would fast, and iftar time, he would be there, his iftar would be kissing the shrine. Once, one of the, right now is Maraj al-Taqlid, I saw this, that he says, I was with Allama Tabatabai, and they recite in front of him poetry about Ali Akbar, the son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And I'm not, you know, maybe I can read the Farsi. بعد از پسر دل پدر آماج تیغ شد. After the son, the heart of the father became the target of waves, of blades. After Ali Akbar, when Ali Akbar was killed, all those arrows that were going to hit Ali Akbar, the son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, those arrows were hitting the heart of Imam Hussein. Because those that are a parent, they understand that when something happens to their child, it's as if it happens 10 times worse to the parent. 10 times. That's why some say, you know, our teacher would say, and they would cry, he says, when you go to Karbala, in front of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, don't mention the misery, the calamities, the bala of Ali Akbar. It's very hard for him. They set fire to the nest of the bird that had flown off. Allama Tabatabai told the person that recited this, Eid, repeat. And he said it again, the reciter. Eid, you know, repeat. And then he would cry and cry and cry and cry from this line of poetry about Ali Akbar. After this, he told this alim, he says, I'm willing to exchange the reward of Al-Mizan for this few lines of poetry, or for this poetry, for Ali Akbar. And then he says, do you know who's the poet? Iraj Mirza is the poet. He's not a very, very religious person. You know, he doesn't, you want to exchange Tafsir Al-Mizan from you for poetry from Iraj Mirza. And he says, yes, basically yes. He says, because I don't know if God will accept say Al-Mizan. But I know on the day of judgment that God will not be indifferent, that Imam Hussein alayhi salam will not be indifferent to someone that mentions this about us. I know this will be guaranteed, this will be accepted. I'm willing to exchange all of Al-Mizan for this few lines of poetry for Ali Akbar. So this is how a person is wala'i. This is how an alim is wala'i. This is how we should be. So when it comes to the 19th, 20th, 21st that are approaching us, when it comes to Nahj al-Balagha, when it comes to the sayings of Imam Ali, we truly dive into these sayings. We truly dive into, with our heart, into the love of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Because this is the most important thing for us. This is what will cause us salvation. In the month of Ramadan, we're trying to guarantee salvation for ourselves, right? We're trying to be set free from the fire. Look at this hadith from Manaqib Ali Abi Talib. سأل النبي جبرائيل كيف تجوز أمتي الصراط فمضى ودعا. The messenger of God asked Jibreel alayhi salam, how will my nation pass the narrow bridge? Jibreel left and came back. The messenger was worried about how we're going to pass as-sirat, the thin narrow bridge that if you fall down, people will fall into hell. This razor sharp, thin. Then in the tradition comes back, وَقَالَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى يُغْرِئُكَ السَّلَامَ وَيَقُولَ إِنَّكَ تَجُوزُ الصَّلَاةَ بِالنُّورِ. God sends his salams to you and says that you will pass the bridge with my light. Yes, the Prophet asked about the ummah. Jibreel says, you will pass with the light of God. وَعَلِيَّ ibn Abi Talib يَجُوزُ الصَّلَاةَ بِنُورِكَ. And Ali ibn Abi Talib will pass the bridge with your light. So the messenger will pass the bridge with the light of God. Ali alayhi salam will pass with the nur of the Nabi. وَأُمَّتُكَ تَجُوزُ الصَّلَاةَ بِنُورِ عَلِي. But your ummah will pass the bridge with the light of Ali. فَنُورُ أُمَّتِكَ مِن نُورِ عَلِي. And the light of your ummah, the light of your nation is from the light of Ali. وَنُورَ عَلِي مِن نُورِكَ. But the light of Ali is from your light, O Messenger. Do not say that now, when we say Ali, 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 that we now are trying to say Imam Ali is higher than the Prophet. No, we are not, because the nur of Ali is from the light of the nur of the Prophet. When you're beginning to love Ali, you're beginning to be like the Messenger of God, because nobody loved Ali alayhi salam as much as Rasulullah. Rasulullah genuinely, sincerely loved Ali ibn Abi Talib. We would have in Sunni sources that when Ali alayhi salam, sometimes he would embark, Prophet would send him to battle. In Sunni sources that basically the Prophet would mention in hadith that, allow Ali to come back, and then he was worried, and that he was anxious in a way that Ali ibn Abi Talib would come back. وَنُورَكْ مِن نُورِ عَلِي. وَنُورَكْ مِن نُورِ Allah. And your light is the nur of Allah. لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ جَوَازٍ. Everything there is permission in the end of this hadith. وَجَوَازُ الصَّلَاةِ. And the permission and authorization to pass the salat. حُبَّ عَلِي ibn Abi Talib. Is the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is the permission to pass. So this is one of the fundamental beliefs that we have. This is one of the core beliefs that we have. To understand that we are not alone. We talked about the hadith of the tree. We are in one body. Two, that when we feel pain, when we are sick, when we have grief, when we do dua, the Ahlul Bayt are doing the Ameen. And the best way of salvation and the way that we will be saved, the way that we will pass the salat is with Hubb Ali ibn Abi Talib. And this is the best way for us to understand from this line, وَلَاعْتِصَامَ بِحَبْلِهِ وَأَيُّ سَبَبٍ أَوْثَقٍ مِنْ سَبَبٍ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ جَلَّ جَلَالُهُ إِنْ أَخَذْتَ بِهِ. So cling on to him. No connection is more reliable than the connection between you and Allah, provided you hold and take heed to it. So we're going to mention a few things about Imam Ali alayhi salam, and I don't know if there are questions. You can answer the questions as well. we're going to mention a little bit about how Imam Ali alayhi salam, during the last part of his life, was, so we can prepare ourselves for the 19th, 20th, and 21st, inshallah. It is the night of 19th. Imam Ali alayhi salam is preparing for his death. And we talked about that he knew that what was going to happen to him. He knew these signs. And when he approaches at such a time, when he approaches, he sees that his belt is fastened, his belt clings on, and he tells his belt in the hadith, to fasten, tells himself, fasten yourself for death. After Imam Ali alayhi salam is struck by the head, and finally he goes to the masjid and Ibn Muljam strikes him. There's a few things that Imam Ali alayhi salam, a few meetings that he has. One of them is with Habib ibn Amr. And Habib ibn Amr comes and sees Imam Ali that he's struck on the head. And he wants to tell him as if nothing has happened. He comes and enters, دخلت على أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام في مرضه الذي قبض فيه حل عن جراحته. And Imam Ali alayhi salam shows his injury to be. It's Habib ibn Amr, a very good companion. فقلت يا أمير المؤمنين ما جرحك هذا بشيء وما بك من بأس. Imam Ali, as if saying, this isn't anything. When you see a sick person, when you see someone that is dying, you want to give them encouragement. There in the tradition it says, فقال لي يا حبيب أنا والله مفارقك الساعة. Oh Habib, I swear by God, I am leaving you now. قال فبكيت عند ذلك وبكت كلثوم. And then I began to cry, and his daughter Kulthum was there. Then it keeps continuing. فقال لها يا بني, oh my daughter, فلا تبكين فوالله لو ترين ما يرى أبوك ما بكيت. But my daughter, do not cry, because if you were to see what your father sees, you would not cry. فقال, then Habib says, فقلت له وما الذي ترى, what do you see? And you see that who is waiting for Imam Ali after his struck? Who is anticipating for him? These many years of separation between the Prophet and Imam Ali, the Prophet is waiting for him. He's waiting for Ali. He says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Then it says, فَقَالَ يَا حَبِيبْ أَرَى مَلَائِكَةَ السَّمَوَاتِ. I see the angels, I see the angels. وَالنَّبِيِّينَ, all the prophets are waiting for Ali. بَعْضُهُمْ فِي أَثَرِ بَعْضٍ وُقُوفًا إِلَىٰ أَن تَتَلَقَّوْنِي. They are waiting, the prophets are waiting. You can say 124,000 prophets are waiting for Ali. وَهَذَا أَخِي, and I see my brother, the messenger of Allah. When Ali alayhi salam went to Mi'raj, we have in Sunni sources that Allah has to have a medium to speak to the Prophet in Mi'raj. And in Sunni sources also, Shia sources, we have that that God spoke to the Prophet with the voice of Ali, because there's no other voice that the Prophet loved so much. He spoke to the Prophet in Mi'raj with the voice of Ali. وَهَذَا أَخِي, and now this is the time for Rasulullah to be reunited with Ali. And how much dhulm, imagine what Ali alayhi salam will tell the Prophet of Islam and tell him, look at what your ummah has done to me. Look at these many years that they have attacked my family, they attacked my house, set my house on fire. 25 years I was inside my house. The guide, the successor of the Prophet. And finally, when they came to me for me to rule over them, these 5 years was full of 3 huge battles. with Muawiyah, with the wife of the Prophet, with the Khawarij. Look at what your ummah did to me. Look at this thorn that is in my throat. وَهَذَا أَخِي مُحَمَّدْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ جَالِسٌ عِنْدِي. And now Rasulullah is going to be reunited with Ali, because in Ayah Mubahila, it teaches us that Ali is from the nafs of the Prophet. He is from the soul of the Prophet. These souls will be reunited. وَيَقُولُ أَقْدِمْ Come, فَإِنَّ أَمَامَكَ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِمَّا أَنْتَ فِي. Come, because what the Prophet tells Imam Ali in the narration, come, for what is in front of you is better than where you are at. Come. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ahli bayti tayyibin tahirin. Ya Allah, we ask you to make the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib manifest in our actions, in our taqwa, in our belief, to allow us to hold on to the hablullah, the rope of God, that we can learn from Imam Ali in Shahr Ramadan. We can do dua like Imam Ali. We can be courageous like Imam Ali. We can be kind to the poor and the oppressed like Imam Ali alayhi salam. We can be a true monotheist and muwahhid like Ali ibn Abi Talib. We can be a good father like Ali alayhi salam. We can be a good husband like Imam Ali alayhi salam. Be good to our friends, inshallah, like Imam Ali alayhi salam. Allah, we ask you, all those that are sick, those that are in need of our du'as, give them shafa, inshallah. All the marhumeen, those that have passed away from our community. Many people were here in Shahr Ramadan last year. They're not here with us. This might be our last Shahr Ramadan. Ya Allah, we ask you this because Shahr Ramadan, each night of it is a night of Qadr for us. That when you take our soul, and Malak al-Maut comes to take our soul, and this will happen to each and every one of us. Allow us to mention the Shahadatain that time. Allow us to die with Iman. Allow us to die with the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And give us the intercession of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ya Allah, we ask you when we pass the Salat, to pass it with the nur of Ali alayhi salam, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you, our children, our descendants, our grandchildren, let them love Imam Ali and be connected to Imam Ali for their entire life. Ya Allah, we ask you to give us our lifestyle, the main component, we can say, of a Shia lifestyle, which is revolving around Ali ibn Abi Talib and love of the Prophet and his family, inshallah. Give us the ziyarat of the Ahlul Bayt, inshallah. Give us Hajj, inshallah. Expedite the return of our Imam, because we know that all things that are suffering will be removed when Imam Zaman comes back. If we're suffering from health, he will do dua and people will be cured. If we're suffering from oppression, he will come and fill the world with justice. If we're suffering from financial insecurity and those that are starving, he will come back and the entire blessings of the world will be brought out forth. So inshallah, remove all our grief, inshallah, with the faraj of Imam Zaman, inshallah, make us of his sincere companions. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ahli bayti tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, ali Muhammad wa
My God, this tribulation has become agonizing.
إلهي أعظم البلاء وبرح الخفاء.
It's now out in the open.
وانكشف الغطاء
The veil has been lifted.
وانغطى الرجاء.
All hope has been lost.
أضاقت الأرض.
Everyone is at a loss. The heaven has been blocked.
وأنت المستعان.
You are the one from whom help is sought.
وإليك المشتكى.
You are the one to whom grievances are brought.
وعليك المعول في الشدة.
You are the one who is relied upon in times of both severity and prosperity.
اللهم صل
O God, bless Muhammad and members of his family who are the rightful leaders, you have made it obligatory for us to obey them, and through this obedience you have made their true status known to us. So please give us relief for their sake, a swift and prompt relief within the blink of an eye, or even quicker than that.
Ya Muhammad,
O Muhammad, O Ali, O Ali, O Muhammad, protect me as you two are truly capable of doing so. Help me as you two are truly capable of helping me.
Ya Mawlana,
O our Master, the Lord of the age, help me, help me, help me, take hold of me, take hold of me, take hold of me, at this moment, at this moment, at this moment. Hurry, hurry, hurry. O God, the most merciful of all who show mercy, have mercy on me for the sake of Muhammad and the pure members of his family.
از نور حسن محمد چشم عالم شده روشن، از رایحه لبخندش عالم یک سر شده گلشن. یا محمد یا محمد، شام دل انسان ها را تو شدی چون ما. ای هادی اهل دنیا یا رسول الله، شام دل انسان ها را تو شدی چون ما. ای هادی اهل دنیا یا رسول الله، یا رسول الله. قلب بالحق تعلق وبغار حراء تألق، يبكي يسأل خالقه فأتاه الوحي فأشرق. صل على محمد، السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله، يا رسول الله. يا طيبة جئتك صبا لرسول الله محبا بالروضة سكنت روحي وجوار الهادي محمد صبحی که دمید از مشرق با سوری از چشمانش سرچشمه‌ای از رحمت بود در جاری بی پایانش السلام علیک یا رسول الله السلام علیک حبیبی یا نبی الله السلام علیک یا رسول الله السلام علیک حبیبی یا نبی الله یا رسول الله